They're not going to come lining up outside of your office door because they read that in the bulletin and ready to help. You have to ask them. A sign of good health in any ministry is when there is fresh, there are fresh people coming into the system, new volunteers. I'm not relying on the same people week after week, Sunday after Sunday, Wednesday night after Wednesday night to do all the work. We are shouldering the work between many people, and new people are constantly coming onto the team. Well, Ryan, people don't sign up to help me at my church. Well, here's the thing. They're not going to sign up to help you at your church, right? They're not. That's why I wrote a whole chapter in the volunteer code on recruiting is a relational thing, and you can't rely on a clipboard. You can't rely on somebody to respond to an announcement in the bulletin or an announcement on the pre-service screens up front. They're not going to come lining up outside of your office door because they read that in the bulletin and ready to help. You have to ask them, right? You have to ask them. And here's the good news. Good news is whether you're at a small church, and I know we've got some small churches represented here, or whether you're at a big church, I know we've got some big, larger multi-site churches represented here today. Here's the deal. Whether you're at a small church or a big church, you still have to recruit one person at a time. One person at a time. I have a friend that works at Lakewood Church, that small little church that Joel Osteen pastors, and he's been there forever. He's the pastor of ministries. He oversees a lot of responsibilities. And about 2 years ago, Beth and I were down there eating with him, and I said, Craig, tell me, with all of these ministries and all of these thousands of volunteers, how do you recruit them? And he said, we recruit them one at a time. One at a time. So here's the deal. Don't get discouraged if people don't sign up on the clipboard. Don't get discouraged if you don't get all 15 people this weekend. Instead, focus on getting one or two at a time. Build those relationships and start talking. Now, Ryan, what if I'm introverted? And I have empathy for that. If you are introverted and if it does not come easy for you to talk to people, then you really just have a few choices as I think through it. If you're introverted, if you have a hard time talking to people, if you have a hard time putting yourself out there, then you've either got, number one, you've got to grow those skills and just, I was going to say man up, but a lot of you are women, so you just man up and you just develop that. That's one option. You just ask the Lord to strengthen you and you put yourself out there. You get more other people on your team, you get some volunteers or people on your team that are more outgoing and it's easier for them to talk to, and you give them this task. Or be quite simple, number three, you just find something different to do. Because in children's ministry, do not go home and tell your pastor, I gave you permission to quit. Deal? But in all truthfulness, children's ministry requires more volunteers than any other ministry in the church. And it's just part of the nature of the beast. If you're a children's ministry director or pastor, that part of your job is volunteer recruiting. So do it here's the deal. Start by just praying. Start by praying. Jesus talked about this, right? Pray to the Lord of the harvest that he would send leaders into his harvest. And how many times are we all guilty of trying A, B, C, D, E, and G, and then we get to the end and we're like, I guess I have nothing to do but pray that God would give us someone. When really we probably should start there, right? So I'm going to pray about it. I'm going to lean in on the Holy Spirit. God, would you assemble the right people? Would you put it on their heart? Would you lead me to the right people to talk to? Would you connect my current volunteers and my current team to the right people? And then just start talking to people. A great question to ask, and we'll come back to these cards in a few minutes. But my bottom question on here was, who do you know that I need to know? And that is a great question for you as you recruit volunteers. Who do you know that I need to know? Because your volunteers know people that you don't know. Or you may know them. Maybe you're a smaller church and you know everybody. but they have relationships or relational equity with people that you may not have relationships with or relational equity with. And so if you can say, who do you know that I need to know? Or who do you think? This is a great tip. We talked about this last week on a webinar about VBS recruiting for the summer, because it's brutal to recruit people in the summer. I get that. So you go to your people that worked last summer and you say, who do you know that I need to know? Who do you know that would help with VBS, do you think, if I asked them? Or would you ask them?